And we're live. Good morning, everyone. umbraCoffee episode 191. And hello, Kevin. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing well. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I've titled this episode like it's September to remember, but it's also partially end of summer for some of us. And just after that, Callum, of course, quoted my tweet and sent a beautiful picture of the swimming pool where he is on his holidays. It's a first probably holiday for Callum since I remember now. So, deserved holiday, enjoy, mate. Have a good rest, charge your batteries and come back to us soon. What about you, Kevin? Is it end of the summer for you?
I don't know. I took an early summer holiday, so I've worked through the summer, but I say worked, I've had days out, but no, it just also carries on. I need to book some time off. I think Callum has the same problem as me. If you work for yourself or you've got a business, you just forget. So
exactly.
You remember to put the holiday in.
And I believe, we have this similarities across our community as well. We are workaholics partially. We love what we do, and it's sometimes, as you said, hard to recognize that this is a time when you need a time off.
Yeah.
And I tried to keep it up and remember about it recently. So yeah, it's good. Most of the people probably came back from holidays. We knew that Denmark and some other countries are celebrating this period sometimes more especially. So it's exciting time of the year, new quarter, new beginnings, and September. And we also saw the message from our good friends from 24 Days that they are starting to collect submissions for their amazing series. And Kevin, do you remember how often or how many times you wrote something for 24
I have
Days?
never wrote for it because
you never wrote.
It's the level of planning. I'm not confident. If I signed up today, I'm not 100% sure I'd get them something before December. But I always intend to, but I've never actually.
Yeah, that's probably same from my side. But I wrote once for this series, and I since then it was 2015 probably. Since then I still plan to submit my idea. But yeah, here this message, this tweet and information, which will be of course shared in the links down below. Is that September is the month where the team is starting to collect submissions. So if anyone has an idea or anything where you want to explore more and share it with the community, I still believe that the level of reach which this initiative gives, because so many retweets, people who are just every day checking what was shared there, is an amazing booster to just sharing the knowledge and making sure that more people will see it than maybe just a normal blog or normal blog post. So yeah, first call to action for 24 days. There will be more. Secondly, there was a last product update from Amraka side, and it's a really interesting one because it highlights 8.16 release, which was released recently with a really nice video unboxing Amraka 8.16. And Kevin, as we have you here, do you follow all of these unboxings, or you are unbox by yourself all of the versions?
I did watch that, but I do often. I'm one of the few people who's on testing the release candidates just in case something breaks. And for 8.16, one of the updates is the ability to do the user dashboards. Yeah. So Lee Kelleher fixed a bug that meant you could put a dashboard in the user section, and so I wrote the back office themes package to put the themes into the user dashboard. So 8.16 just sort of I watched that. So when it came out, I could just sneak that update out. So.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about it. I still remember how amazed I was when I saw this package when you can select a theme for yourself, and now it might be user based, right? That's correct. And
yeah, it's user based now, so it stores it in the database but against the user. So
nice.
I mean, it's a complete Angular hack, but it's quite fun.
One of many hacks there. But it's exciting release. A lot of great feature upgrades, a lot of great performance improvements as well. And yeah, since 8.15.1, which was initial 8.15 release, it's a lot of things which has changed. But similar to that, there was a day when 2 new patch releases were announced for Umbraco 8.15, and 8.15 and 8.14, and I must say it was a lifesaver for one of my projects, and I want to publicly thank for all the contributors who made it, because we observed a really odd issue with multiple publishing processes from multiple threads in Umbraco 8.15 too, and it seemed like it was a bug which was fixed in this patch release. So yeah, great to see these patch releases, and I tend to update really often now. And you, Kevin, mentioned that you are following all the RCs, all the new. You are one of the first early adopters of every version now, right?
Yeah, just to make sure.
How it looks from your perspective then, when it comes to stability of the releases?
In general, the releases now, they might be going 14, 15, 16 really quick, but actually they're really stable. The changes are quite minimal. There's the odd thing that sneaks through now and again, but they're not critical. I don't think there's been anything that's required quite a change in a 15 or 16 for me.
A lot safer to upgrade for sure.
Yes,
than
it is. I mean, it's fairly seamless now. I don't think there's many issues going from about 10 upwards. It's fairly solid.
Yeah, and yeah, upcoming releases, of course, for other products such as Umbraco Deploy and Umbraco Forms, who already has the release candidates out, with some pretty cool updates to Umbraco Forms, improving the usability and general overall. Yeah, folders, new options for rendering, pretty good stuff. I didn't test the RC of it yet, but I
haven't actually had a go, but I know that the folder stuff's in there, and that's what people have wanted for a long time. So that's really cool.
And of course, there are new dates for that, which is the September 14th, and Umbraco Tabs edition, yes. Codename 8.17 is going to be released on October 7th. And I followed a lot of discussions on GitHub about it. There was a pull request, really heavily discussed, and I saw that this is really discussed and thought feature upgrade, or I would say feature bring back, which is a little bit different than it was before, which is exciting. I will ask this question for you, which is probably a pretty challenging question. Tabs or no tabs then?
Probably tabs, to be honest.
That's
sometimes when tabs, but almost always. It's the example there, the SEO type example is really good for tabs.
Yeah. I must say that my mind was probably unintentionally ignoring no tabs period, and it was like, oh no, whenever I had the tabs, it was like more normal for me personally. But yeah, exciting times ahead then. And yeah, for anyone who might missed it, I catched up this episode as well during this week, because I was not present last Friday. There was a great episode where Gary and Sebastian described the security issue on Forms, and I checked the blog post. I'm sure, Kevin, you also read this blog post with the information there. I love this kind of descriptions of issues. I don't know why. It's my personal hobby probably, but all the leaks, all the security problems, all the postmortems are amazing. And
it's always a little scary, but it's fascinating to see how people get into your systems.
Yeah, and then what can be done with it, right? Because it's, I think, big kudos here for the Upchecks team here, that they've described a really tough case and tough scenario, which can be implemented thanks to these issues. For anyone who might not even be a security fan or pen tester or whatever else, it's very interesting, and I highly recommend seeing that episode. And last but not least, from this product update, we saw the information about community office hours, which happened yesterday, where Kim, the Amraka CEO, described again the involvement of the new major stakeholder in Umbraco, which is Monterro. Everyone could probably ask more questions. I missed it, so I don't know how it went, but everyone can ask additional questions.
To be honest, I went, but One of the signs probably that they've been so open is that it was very similar to the other 2 or 3 now of the same thing that I've seen. So I did watch it, but I was like, yeah, I have seen this at least twice before, if not 3 times. But it was still interesting, and there were some other questions, but the general thing was the same. So yeah.
But yeah, probably there were still people who missed it or still had some maybe new questions or new concerns, which always are good to address.
About reaching out. It's just, I think, because there was on the MVP one and there was the umbraCoffee one, and it just I probably overwatched it.
It's never enough. It's never enough then.
No.
And Kevin, we are jumping then to the topic more closer to your heart, package releases and updates, and one of them which we can use to start is your update, where you've shared the information with us that uSync 8.10 and 8.11 are out.
Yes.
So yeah, you can tell us more about these releases, what they contain, what's new, what's next.
Well, what I'm hoping they are is the last major V8 releases of uSync. So what we've done is we've put a little bit of what codes into these. They're essentially to make it easier to integrate with uSync and uSync Complete. So you've always been able to add your own serializers and handlers to sync your own data with uSync. But what this update really adds is the ability to integrate into the uSync menus, so that you can, if you've got your own section or your own tree, you can have your own push and pull menus. So that's the majority of the update. What it's done for us at the side, because other people were asking, is it made it easier for us to also do that across the board. So now you can push and pull doc types and data types, individual data types, or all your data types from the menu. So previously, you can push and pull content all you want, and there's a settings bit where you can pick which settings you want to push. But now you can just do it directly into the menu. And it's all from making that bit generic. So obviously when you're developing this and you're building the code, we just ended up with a few places where we had, like, if it's media, do this, if it's a dictionary, do this. And we sort of stripped it out and made it more generic. So now there's a class that you implement, an interface you can implement, and then the UI just sort of takes that interface and generates the rest of it for you. So hopefully it makes it much easier to integrate with uSync. And I know at least one person who is actually using other tools and then adding their own menus to push and pull their data between the sites. So hopefully,
I think it's just, in theory it's the code which you've wrote and it does the job. But right now it opens more. I don't like this naming, but business cases where you can implement using in your business scenario, in your own implementations, which is amazing. And that was something what I also noticed from your update here, that it's a just smaller step for making other package creators and other third-party things to use what uSync offers inside of the code base.
Yeah, it is, and that's why we've immediately jumped on and started adding it to the uSync Forms package. So that's been sort of nearly ready for quite a while, and we were waiting for some of the Forms updates, to be honest, just to make sure they're all in line. But we've added the menus to that, so you can push and pull forms now from
nice.
Well, you will be able to when I release it. You can push and pull forms with the latest version of uSync, and we're doing the same with vendor. So the vendor uSync package, just add in the menu so you can push and pull all your vendor store data and currencies and stuff between your sites. So basically allowing you to keep them in sync. I'm not sure if we're going to do the actual orders yet, but all the settings you can definitely sync. So
that's amazing, because I must admit that whenever we were doing some reusable components on various projects, we often exported the snapshot of using definitions of them, or just shipped them to make sure that they are delivered on another project, and that's exactly for what using can be also used.
I mean, this also does extend Exporter, which is the other element of this. So this is all the menus are publisher, but uSync Exporter allows you to create those sync packs where you just pick the bits of your Umbraco site and it gives you a zip file essentially that you can just dump onto another site. And surprisingly, quite a lot of people do use that, so it's quite cool for them to sort of use it as a starter for their site, and then they just dump it on a new site.
Yeah, and now every let's say not only major package can integrate it, as you said, easier and definitely more easier than previously to their package, and rely on that and just have a one dependency which fortunately for these users is almost everywhere every time there, which is uSync in this case, and make sure that it can be shipped across the environments. So Kevin, you've mentioned before we went live that you have something working, what you can probably share to us today as well. So probably.
I mean, I can just demo it. To be honest, it's not. It's nothing. It's nothing different. This is just while we're here, it's green because it's got the theme on it. But that's just so
hidden advert of the package.
So I can tell the difference between the green one and I look at that one, the blue one.
That's another amazing use case of, for example, differing environments. Right?
Now, I mean, all we've done. I mean, this is uSync in green, and I suppose you can always publish to the site, and this is just what we do normally. Hopefully it doesn't die. I don't think there's any changes. The site there you can publish, but just to show you what's been added, essentially now you get options here where you can push all of your doc types or pull all of your doc types, or you can go down to an individual doc type, and if you add, I don't know, if we create a new doc type for the text area and we added that to the doc type, then you have to give it a name.
Validation tests.
Yeah. Then obviously that's gone to that doc type, and if it just wanted to push that one doc type to another server now, I could do that, and I could pick it, and it should tell you there that you see it saying it's going to the doc type I've just created is also going to go with it. So essentially it's still doing all the dependency checks, so when that gets pushed now,
you've mentioned data type, right? The data type dependency.
Yeah, the data type, because we created a data type with that. That's also pushed across. So it's still doing all of the dependency check and all of the elements to make sure that everything's in sync. And you can do that right down. So we can do data types. We can do all the data types. And just push them all, and it'll go off and check them. And I think they'll be in sync, so it shouldn't really be a problem. And so we can do this throughout the thing, and then just to show you the forms integration at the moment. We're still working on this a little bit, but essentially you can go there and you can push and pull a form. And so this form is out of date, so it'll give you the details. In fact, it's not on the other server. So you can see it's got the form, and it's doing the same thing where it's given us the dependencies of this form. So this form uses a pre-value source. So if we push that to the other server, then essentially that should be there when we go to the... I have to refresh it. No, there you go. So the comment forms there, and the forms come across. What we're just tidying up before release is that should also work here, but it currently doesn't. So when you pick a form, I've broken the site, and you pick the form and the form's in there, when you push the content, the last little thing we do just before we release it is that we'll also find the form dependency and say this form needs to be published as part of the content. So you add a form to the content, and it publishes that form as well. So it's just making sure that dependency tree fits together, really, and then we're done. And then that should be going live very soon.
Is it getting the form dependency from form picker property editor? So
what actually happens is inside here, there's a dependency check that happens, and you can write your own dependency mappers. And so we just need to finish the one for the form. As you say, it goes off and finds the form. So we already have one. If you embed an image, well, you can't embed an image there, but if you were to pick an image for the home page, then that also happens. So the dependency check will go off, find a picture that you've added.
Yeah.
And then when you publish this page, it essentially will say you also need the image to go across.
Okay, I haven't used the content transfers that recently. So is it already built with media images, or this is coming with this version when it comes to dependency?
This is already here. So
this is already there. Yeah,
that's standard. It's essentially what we've done is we've extended the
dependencies with the form stuff.
It's all of this. Haven't push pull over here. I think in the previous version you could also push and pull the dictionary, and you still can. Awesome. And then the exporter will just have a few more buttons depending. So forms will appear here as well. So this is the thing I was saying, where you can essentially, if you want, you can export your whole site by doing. I want to export my home page, and this will create a sync pack, which essentially is a zip file, which you can save somewhere, move anywhere you want, and just import onto the other side. So if I open one of them up, you'll see it's actually just a zip file, but it's got all of the uSync for that content, all of the dependencies that you need. So including the template files and the CSS and everything will be in there. So that in theory is a site, and you can just take that file, drop it on another site, on a blank site. That doesn't have to be linked. So that's like a starter kit sort of type way of doing it. You've got like a base you want to just start from.
Yeah, that's what I was doing previously with the using snapshots as well, and filtering them with and just deciding what can be or should be delivered. And the amazing part in that is that whenever we are checking for the existing elements, we are not recreating the ones which are already there, and that's the whole beauty of that. And that's a great use case, and great to see this here on the separate packages. There was a question from Tariq here: would using forms become part of the using complete, or is it standalone?
Using Forms it will be a separate package. So the one of the things we've actually done is that the interface that needs to be implemented is in uSync, not complete, which allows us to put it on the free packages, and then so Using Forms will be fine. You just install it and it'll work like Using Content Edition does. But when you install complete, the menus appear because you've got complete installed.
Okay, that's fair
so
enough.
yes, it's free Forms.
Nice. Yeah, great stuff. And as usual, it looks great. It works. So we can just await the release date. Any further plans right now from your perspective to work?
As I say, what we've actually done is once we've got forms and the vendor stuff done, which hopefully is next week because it's just tidying them up, we're just concentrating on V9. So we've got uSync V9 and uSync Complete V9 working, but I want to do some more tests, especially on like Linux and stuff, while that's not officially supported. I think how that works, making sure I've got all the file names cased properly.
And directories.
It's all about whether or not you've uppercased a folder somewhere and then lowercased it. And also,
I saw this discussion probably on your issues tracker about the app plugins directory and issues on Linux with that.
That's
as well,
the other thing. So a .NET Publish is a bit odd. So when you do a .NET Publish, it flattens a lot of your site. So it's not on a framework. When you publish a site, it looks an awful lot like the site that you've been working on. When you do a .NET Publish, or the DLLs are flattened into the folder structure, and so I just want to double check that before we release that we've got all of the right settings in the config to do a publish and everything's right.
And I'm sure you will be also highlighting some of these findings somewhere.
Yes.
If not in any documentation, maybe in the package manifest podcast, or to help other package creators as well in the way of migrating.
Go back to my do stuff with Umbraco repo and check that. As well. So.
V9 edition, Linux edition, and Windows edition. Oh, that was great. Exciting times. So whenever, and of course we are here in September already, and the target date for Umbraco 9 is also the end of the September.
It is,
So it's pretty close. It might be really September to remember if we'll step this milestone and this amazing milestone in the changes of the whole framework behind the scenes that will open a lot of the doors in front. I already saw tweets where people were highlighting that they decreased some of the pricings of Azure app services, even by 50%. I tried to calculate it and I couldn't get to this high amount of decreases, but still it will be cheaper. It will be cheaper if it will be.
I mean, I quite literally installed Docker yesterday, so I haven't really got that much Linux experience. So that's
you know it's going to be paid soon. Bad timing for Docker usage. But yeah, cool. Still exciting times ahead. Thanks, Kevin, for demo. All the other package creators also released some of the updates this week. Aaron released the new version, the new RC for Amraka navigation package for V9, and it's fixing some of the bugs in the existing code base. So V9 is also getting this package possible to be used. And Nate, there was another one released this week for V8, which is a two-factor two-factor authentication using Twilio SMS provider. And interesting fact for me is that it's shipped as a package. So usually we were just implementing this kind of authentication providers, and here this authentication provider is already shipped as a package, which might be really cool stuff for someone who just wants to enable two-factor authentication for back office using Twilio, for example. And last but not least, from the package area, Nathan, who's working on pre-flight for V9 now, just teased us that the next pre-flight release will be fully variant aware and allowing different test settings for different languages, which for people who were using pre-flight previously and are working with various language variants and possibly in the future also content variants, might be really exciting to be able to use pre-flight and check various languages, various tests, maybe use various conditions or engines to validate the content by. So yeah, awaiting another release from this for this package as well. And that's from the packages. I know Callum mentioned last week that there are some meetups ahead. But it's worth to remind about them because they are in the middle of the month. Belgian Meetup, which is back after it's the first meetup since 2019. Virtual meetup on Umbraco Minneapolis group. And I like this one, the server-side strikes back meetup organized by Manchester and Northwest Umbraco Meetup group on September 16th. And last on the meetups area, the Edinburgh group announced that they have a date set for 22nd September and speakers are lined up and will be announced soon. So month full of meetups. I still must admit that I haven't attended any online meetup since the pandemic started. It became. What about you, Kevin?
I've been to an Australian one, and can't remember. I think the Australian one I did something at, and I might have gone to one of the European ones, but not many.
Yeah, I must mark this check mark to attend Australian meetup, even virtually.
Yeah.
That's when it's enabled, because hopefully, and of course, everyone keeps the fingers crossed that we'll be back to normal meetups. I saw some of them already organized in various areas of the world, so hopefully we'll get there. And of course, we'll remember and remind about these meetups next week. Blog posts. Many blog posts this week. Let's start from Paul, who shared the blog post titled "How to Implement Page Level Cache Control in Umbraco 8," with some events, hooks, and various information about cache control, headers, cleaning this up. Really useful stuff. I tend to avoid caching topics as much as I can, yes. But
I'm always interested by the hooks into Umbraco. That's why I like to find where's the other bit of Umbraco I have yet to hook into. So that bit's always interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And same with all the load balancing stuff, all of the scenarios, which are sometimes more hidden than others. So here, very descriptive, very cool blog post on caching. Check it out if you want to implement the caching scenario and all the stuff. Great work, Paul, here on sharing this. And yeah, published, request prepared. Really cool event to be hooked on. Cool. The second one is two blog posts from Aaron also this week, probably as a result of discussions on Slack and Twitter, because I saw many discussions about various stuff like that. First, how to create member login and logout in Umbraco V9. Looks pretty similar with small changes and of course renamings of some implementation details, but the rest stays the same. Still possible to be extended and build it as we wish. And second from Aaron is about how to removing trailing slash in Umbraco 9, and that's probably something what will interest more SEO oriented people or people who are willing to remove one of the versions at least, because trailing and non-trailing slashes are becoming sometimes a nightmare in SEO reports. And now it seems like it's a lot easier as well.
Yeah, so that's knowing where the config is, isn't it? Which is part of the move to V9, because all the configs moved is finding these things. So it's really useful.
Yeah. I think many small findings like that will be extremely helpful to combine the documentation maybe as well, to update the documentation plus implement those small things which we got used to in Umbraco settings file, for example, some of the configurations which were applied by default and now needs to be initialized and stuff like that. So I'm always curious what's new and what's there, what I don't know about yet. So pretty good to be able to find it out. The next blog was from Owen. And interesting fact about it is, like, Owen described here how to create a drop-down menu for years to select them from the pickable list. And thanks to community contribution, Matt also shared his approach with some different implementation here. Things like that might be reused, and I often used some libraries and things like that to not write the same code once again. So yeah, great collaboration here on two creators who just helped each other to write maybe simpler code, maybe different code and stuff like that. And last but not least, from the community blogs, Carol asked everyone in the Umbraco community on Twitter what we want to know about V9, or what is worrying, or I don't know, general thoughts about V9. So we can contribute. Kevin, what about you? Is it anything else what right now bothers you? What is the biggest unknown from the perspective of V9 or .NET Core?
I mean, I've done quite a bit of V9 work, so I'm not too uncomfortable. There's not as much moved as you first think if you haven't gone near it. It's not as big a change as you think it's going to be. But there are little things that just sort of catch you out, and after a while, you know. But personally, for me at the moment, I'm concerned about Linux, which is because I'm concerned about case, and I'm already getting people saying this doesn't work on this platform. And like that, I think is going to be a big shift, even though Umbraco officially isn't supporting that. Obviously, it's a massive thing of moving to .NET Core. So personally, that's just like a whole new world. But the Umbraco stuff, it's I don't want to sound dismissive, but it is very similar. So there are places there's a lot of where's this gone and where's that gone, but when you find it, it's all still there. It's just it moved around a bit.
Yeah. If I can add anything to that, I would say anything .NET Core what might be used outside of the Umbraco, all the let's say interceptors, all the authentication extensions and magics.
There is. I've tripped up on HTTP request messages and stuff. So some of the, if you get down to the lower level, some of that just is different in .NET Core, and it's quite a step, and you go, just gone. Where's this gone? So it's very odd. Yeah,
plus a little mindset of changing handlers approach or things like that into more this interceptor driven architecture. But besides that, it's exciting new stuff. What is always a motivating part to just start. But people, if you are watching it, of course, links to this tweet will be in the video description. Share your thoughts, share your concerns. Maybe it will help Carol. I'm sure it will help Carol to address them and maybe find some answers for you and for all of us to maybe be less worried and less stressed about migration to V9. And two, I copied the same point from the last agenda, because again, Amraka announced 2 more new hires to their team. So it's still ongoing. Team is growing, and to make it easier for me this week, it was 2 Rasmuses. So one is joining the SWAT team, and second new team member joined the Amraka team in the team. In IT team and also in the SWAT team. He will be helping in making documentation, addressing questions, and generally supporting Umbraco's implementations. So yeah, team is growing. Investments is progressing. And Kevin, what were your thoughts when it comes to the new inquiry? I know you've mentioned it in the podcast.
Overloads. Yeah, I mean, it's positive news. It's good that Umbraco have got the investment, because as Kim has said on all of the things I've listened to, some of the ability to plan is increased. So they've been working based on what did we make in the last 6 months, 12 months, what can we do next, whereas an investor allows them to make a longer term plan knowing that the money is potentially there. That's good. Actually, what it means, I think it's still a little bit too early to tell whether or not it'll change anything. It probably won't, to be honest. But, you know, and they're at a very early stage. They've got the money, but they don't 100% know the full direction of where they're going. And I think they've been very open about that. And so until there's a full strategy in place, you're only guessing. And so it's not worth worrying about, I think. That's my own opinion at the moment.
Yeah, of course. We even confirmed with Kim that actions will be the metric, right? And what will be the next? And if they will benefit from that, that's always amazing. And still, I must admit that I've scanned various umbraco.com pages and subsites from the community perspective, from the descriptions of what is around Umbraco, and I don't know if it's driven by having more visibility or being willing to share more, but it's very organized. It's right now, if we'll share it with some new community members or new people, go and check the community tab here, find out what people are doing, what are the meetups, what are the events, initiatives from the community perspective, what are the packages. I know that there are some plans of doing applications, pages and extensions for packages and stuff like that. So that's amazing to see, and yeah, it will hopefully bring more users and more developers to collaborate with and make the project better in overall. And yeah, that's it from our list. Nothing else hopefully was missed. And if it was, just in case, let us all, of course, know. And as usual, thanks for all likes, subscribes. I think we can use this segment also to invite people to listen to your podcast, Kevin.
I think we're recording the 10th one today, so that's my next job. So with the end of our season 1 podcast will be this out next week. So
yeah, so package manifest, if someone didn't see or didn't listen any of the episodes previously, great series, season 1 for package creators completed, and season 2 upcoming hopefully in the new world of Umbraco V9 and .NET Core. And Kevin, thanks again for joining me today, sharing the amazing work what you do. Keep it high, keep it up as well all the time, and let us all know if you will find anything worrying in the next upcoming releases and changes. And yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
So thanks everyone, and as usual, see you on the next Friday. Have a good rest of the day.